Hello and welcome to Adventist World Radio, the Voice of Hope. It's yet another wonderful day that the Almighty Father has given unto us, so that we may rejoice and be glad in it. Stay tuned to the New Life program. I'm your host, Victor Nyacharo. As usual, dear listener, we have more exciting, educating, and entertaining presentations lined up just for you. Josephine Osumo kicks off the program with a health segment about congenital infection. Pastor Kigundu Ndiga will later nourish our souls during the Bible segment as he will talk about the snares of wealth. Great spiritual music is also lined up for you, including one from Mangu SDA Choir. Make sure you do not touch the dial. Here's the new voice of hope with the song, Heaven.
Look at my Lord on His throne, to live with Jesus in heaven, to throw at His feet my crown. I shall be in heaven forever. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, to live with Jesus in heaven. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, to live with Jesus forever. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, in heaven, I shall be in heaven forever. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, to live with Jesus in heaven. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, to live with Jesus in heaven. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, in heaven, I shall be in heaven with my Lord. In heaven, I shall sing for my Lord, the King of glory, sanctified by His love. I shall praise His name forever. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, to live with Jesus in heaven. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, I shall praise His name forever. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, in heaven, I shall be in heaven with my Lord. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, to live with Jesus in heaven. In heaven, in heaven, in heaven, I shall be in heaven forever. In heaven, in heaven, heaven, in heaven, in heaven. I shall be in heaven with my Lord.
That was the New Voice of Hope with their song, Heaven. During the pregnancy period, both the mother and the baby are at a risk of contracting diseases. In most cases, when the mother is infected by a disease, the baby becomes affected. The same is also true when a baby becomes infected, the mother is also affected. A good example is the congenital infection, which mostly affects the unborn fetus or newborn infant. They are generally caused by viruses that may be picked up by the baby at the time during pregnancy, up through the time of delivery. For more on this, here is Josephine Osumo on health. Stay tuned.
Hello, listener. In addition to the neonatal infections that we have discussed in our last two programs, newborns can be affected by infections that are transmitted from mother to child either during pregnancy or delivery. Because the baby is born with these infections, they are known as congenital infections. A warm welcome to our health slot. I'm your presenter, Josephine Osumo. Congenital infections are often caused by viruses, but they can also arise from bacteria, fungi, as well as parasites. Congenital infections include HIV, which causes AIDS, rubella, which causes German measles, varicella zoster, which causes chickenpox, syphilis, toxoplasmosis, and cytomegalovirus. The most common congenital infection and the leading cause of congenital hearing loss. The degree of danger to the infant often depends on when the mother was exposed to the germ. With many infections, such as rubella and toxoplasmosis, the risk is greatest in the first trimester. If the mother becomes infected then, it can cause serious problems such as heart disease, brain damage, deafness, visual impairment, or even miscarriage. Infection later in the pregnancy may lead to less severe effects on the fetus, but can still lead to problems with the infant's growth or development. Some early signs of a possible congenital infection include a large or small head, small body size, seizures, problems with the eyes, skin rashes, jaundice, enlarged abdominal organs, and a heart murmur. It's more likely that babies will be born with an infection if their mothers become infected for the first time with a particular germ while pregnant. However, transmission to the baby doesn't always occur, so many babies born to mothers with these infections don't have the infection themselves. Other newborns may not initially show signs of disease, but may later exhibit its effects. If a doctor suspects a congenital infection in a newborn, he will run blood tests and cultures of blood and other fluids from the infant, and sometimes the mother, to try to make a diagnosis. Treatment often includes the antiviral or antibiotic medications that are used to treat the diseases in older patients, as well as intense supportive care while the baby is in the hospital. Congenital infections also call for close medical follow-up to watch for any effects of the disease that may develop as the infant grows. We'll now talk about complications that can arise from neonatal infections as well as prevention. If neonatal infections aren't treated promptly, or if they spread, they can have serious consequences. Because babies' bodies and organs are undergoing rapid development, any interruption in that process can lead to complications, including growth, developmental, neurological, cardiac, respiratory, and sensory problems. In some severe cases, neonatal infections can be fatal. With their fragile new immune systems, babies aren't well equipped to deal with overwhelming infection. premature or otherwise immune-compromised babies are at an even greater risk of developing critical disease from a bacterium or virus that might cause a simple illness in an older child. An early diagnosis, swift treatment, and close monitoring and care give the baby the best chance of overcoming the infection. How can neonatal infections be prevented? If a pregnant woman is diagnosed with one of these infections, or if she is considered at risk of infection, preventive measures can lower the probability that she will pass it to her baby. Because many infections can be treated with medicine given to the mother while she is pregnant, maternal testing is extremely useful. In many cases, a quick blood or fluid test can determine if a pregnant woman should receive treatment. For a woman with listeriosis, a course of antibiotics usually prevents transmission of the bacterium to the fetus. Women who are HIV positive are advised to take antiretroviral medication during pregnancy to lower the risk that their babies will contract HIV infection. Other neonatal infections are best prevented through steps that keep expectant mothers from developing the infection in the first place. Women can protect themselves and their unborn babies by 1. Making sure they've been immunized against rubella and varicella zoster infection before trying to become pregnant. 2. Thoroughly washing and cooking food, regularly washing hands, particularly before and after preparing food, after using the toilet, and after coming into contact with bodily fluids and waste, and avoiding all contact with cat and other animal feces to lower the risk of contracting bacteria and parasites that lead to infections such as listeriosis and toxoplasmosis. And 3. Practicing safe sex to avoid sexually transmitted diseases that can lead to congenital infections. Some preventive measures are routine parts of pregnancy and delivery. Many doctors recommend that an expectant mother have a simple swab test late in pregnancy to know whether she is carrying Group B streptococcal disease. If she is, she will receive intravenous antibiotics during delivery to lower the risk of transmitting the bacteria to her baby. Doctors also routinely put antibiotic drops or ointment in newborns' eyes to prevent conjunctivitis caused by gonorrhea bacteria. Call your child's doctor or seek emergency medical care if your baby shows any of these possible signs of infection: poor feeding, breathing difficulty, listlessness, decreased or elevated temperature, unusual skin rash or change in skin color, persistent crying, unusual irritability. A marked change in baby's behavior, such as suddenly sleeping all the time or not sleeping much at all, can also be an indicator that something isn't right. These signs are of even greater concern if babies are less than 2 months old. To make sure they stay healthy, have them checked out right away if you suspect a problem. With these tips, we have come to the end of our series on neonatal infection. Join us again in our next program as we talk about cleft lip and palate. I've been your presenter, Josephine Osumo. God bless you and bye.
If at all you're joining us right now, this is the New Life program coming to you from Adventist World Radio, the Voice of Hope. I'm your presenter, Victor Nyecharo. To play a part in this program, send us your comments and thoughts to the producer, Adventist World Radio, P.O. Box 42276, code 00100, Nairobi, Kenya. Our email address is awrnairobi@eau.adventist.org. Jim Kambale clears the way for Pastor Kigundu Ndwiga with the song, The Way of the World. Stay tuned.
The way of the Lord is the best. hard to understand why I have to go the way He leads. When all things around me turn to darkness, and there seems to be no way through. But then I remember that the Lord who led Joseph, Moses, and Daniel has all the reasons why He bids me follow. For my way is the best, for He has million ways my life to lead. He knows what I am and what I want to be. And when He takes me through rough or easy road, I will follow, for He wishes me the best. And so goes my life day after day. The Lord leads me through ups and downs. But one day in my life I'll come to understand that His way was the best. He has million ways my life to lead. He knows what I am and what I want to be. And when He takes me through rough or easy road, I will follow, for He wishes me the best.
Coming up next is Pastor Kigundu Ndwiga with the spiritual nourishment through the second part of the series, The Snare of Wealth. Be blessed.
Dear listener, today we continue looking at the snares of wealth. Wealth may bring unhappiness and anxiety. As a young boy, I read a story in the Reader's Digest that illustrates this point about wealth. The title of the story was A Sense of Values. Nathan Bond, a poor young soldier, marries a young lady and they have a happy marriage. After the war, he gets a job as a newspaper reporter and they struggle financially to make ends meet. Their marriage is happy and they are blessed with 2 children. It is a typical happy home until when Nathan discovers that he can draw cartoons for the newspapers and consequently makes a lot of money. What follows is pathetic. Long hours in the office, involvement in parties as he becomes a celebrity, drinking to socialize, little time with his children, and eventually unfaithfulness to his wife and a filing for a divorce from a broken-hearted wife. How true the above scenario is in many families. The coming of wealth brings unhappiness and anxiety. Dear listener, I want you to consider with me the following 5 testimonies of wealthy people in the U.S. John D. Rockefeller said, "I have made many millions, but they have brought me no happiness." W.H. Vanderbilt said, "The care of $200 million is enough to kill anyone. There is no pleasure in it." John Jacob Astor said, "I am the most miserable man on earth." Henry Ford said, "I was happier when doing a mechanic's job." Andrew Carnegie said, "Millionaires seldom smile." The uncertainty and insecurity of material things make materialism the mother of all uncertainties. That is why Christ advised in Matthew 6 verse 19 to 24 about investing our treasures in heaven was followed immediately by admonition not to worry about material things in Matthew 6 verse 25 to 34. People lay up treasures on earth not only because of greed and covetousness and selfishness, but also because of fear, insecurity, and anxiety about what the future holds. Unfortunately, putting our hopes on earthly treasure does not minimize anxiety, but multiplies it because earthly treasures are so uncertain. Tony Campolo, a professor of sociology in Eastern University in Pennsylvania, told a story in a sermon that illustrates this point. A certain man was traveling by train in India on a 3-day journey. Out of fear for thieves, he clutched his luggage tightly to his chest as he sat. He kept fighting sleep so as to protect his bag. After some time, he lost his fight against sleep and fell into a heavy slumber. Unfortunately, while he slept, thieves stole his luggage. When he woke up and discovered that his luggage had been stolen, he really panicked, but after realizing there was nothing he could do, he relaxed and slept soundly. It is true, wealth makes us anxious like that Indian, as we fear we may lose it. We should adopt the stance of John Wesley when he was told that one of his buildings had burned down. He said, well, that is one burden less for me. Wealth may end in ultimate meaninglessness. Unfortunately, we live in a society that makes the pursuit of wealth the goal of life. Many of us are led to believe that the ultimate purpose of life is to make money and to amass wealth. However, many of us will discover too late that what we have spent all our lives, energy and efforts and creativities pursuing has no substance. It is nothing more than chasing the wind, a mirage in the desert. Like Solomon, we'll discover that the pursuit of wealth for its own sake is foolishness of the greatest order. Too late, like Solomon, we'll be forced to confess, "Yet when I surveyed all that my hands had done, and what I had toiled to achieve, everything was meaningless, a chasing after the wind. Nothing was gained under the sun." Ecclesiastes 2, verse 11. Wealth will be meaningless to us on the day of judgment. It will not get us out of the hook. John Piper, in his book Desiring God, page 156, describes the futility of health when it comes to the day of judgment. This is what he says: "How absurd and tragic the love of money will seem on that day, like a man who spends his whole life collecting train tickets and in the end is so weighed by the collection that he misses the train." Wealth often leads to pride and elitism. The tragic thing about wealth is that after acquiring it, we start thinking we are better and smarter than those who do not have it. We forget the advice of Moses to the Israelites in Deuteronomy 8 verse 18 when he says, "But remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to make wealth and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your forefathers as it is this day." How much like King Herod we are, who rather than giving God the glory for his God-given abilities sought to take that glory for himself. The story in Acts 12 is very clear about the outcome of trying to take credit for our God-given abilities. It says, "Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died." Acts 12 verse 23. Dear listener, are you giving glory to God for your prosperity, or are you taking all credit for yourself?
Dear listener, that marks the end of today's program. It has been such a privilege having your attention. Remember to send us your views, comments and suggestions concerning the program to the producer, Adventist World Radio, P.O. Box 42276, code 00100, Nairobi, Kenya. Our email address is awrnairobi@eau.co.ke. www.radio.adventist.org. On behalf of my producer, I have been your presenter, Victor Nyacharo.
If we ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him now. Oh, we should need Him now. We should need Him now.
Oh, glory, if we
Ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him now. We need Him every day and every hour. We need Him in the morning, need Him in the morning, need Him in the morning, need Him in the morning. We need Him in the night, need Him in the night, need Him in the night, need Him in the night. We need Him at the noonday, need Him at the noonday, need Him at the noonday, need Him at the noonday when the sun is shining bright. If we ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him now. Oh, we should need Him now. We should need Him now.
Oh, glory, if we
Ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him now. We need Him every day and every hour. We need Him when you're happy, need Him when you're happy, when you're happy, when you're happy, need Him when you're happy. We need Him when you're sad, need Him when you're sad, need Him when you're sad, need Him when you're sad. We need Him all the time, need Him all the time, need Him all the time, need Him all the time. And when our hearts are glad, if we ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him now. Oh, we should need Him now. We should need Him now.
Oh, glory, if we
Ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him now. We need Him every day and every hour. We need Him in the morning, need Him in the morning, in the morning, the morning, need Him in the morning. We need Him in the night, need Him in the night, need Him in the night, need Him in the night. We need Him at the noonday, need Him at the noonday, need Him at the noonday, need Him at the noonday when the sun is shining bright. If you ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him now. Oh, we should need Him now. We should need Him now.
Oh, glory, if we
Ever needed the Lord before, we should need Him